Just say connect. Here we go.
Yo.
Boom!
Yo. What up? I'm good. I know. I'm back in France.
Are you? You're not,
No,
are you?
I wish.
I was gonna say, what?
Yeah, I moved I moved the crib to France.
Listen, so for those that last time me and Daru, the France joke is the last time me and Daru met up was in Paris about I don't know 8 months ago, which is just unbelievable that so much has changed.
I know, right?
It's. I mean, how are you? How are you coping?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you, brother Michael. Thanks again for bringing me over, to the back show. I had an amazing time. You guys were very hospitable. You know what I'm saying? Y'all treated me like y'all been knowing me for years, and I had a great time. But yeah, I'm just taking it a day at a time, just trying to make the best of it like we all are. You know what I'm saying? These are definitely different times, but I'm thankful to still be alive. You know what I'm saying? But I'm coping the best as I can.
And all your friends and family, they're all okay. And I mean, obviously, we not only have we gone through COVID-19, but we've gone through these racial nonsense as well. I mean, it's just the world's gone mad at the moment. It's just
Dude, I always love the London and the UK terminology. The mad. is that's where you at right now? You in the UK?
Yeah.
Okay, killing. Yeah, the mad, the
mad
rubbish. That's rubbish. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's funny. I just did it. Well, let me just answer your question. Yeah, my immediate family, everybody's is safe.
Good.
Thank goodness. I did have some friends and people that I knew that passed away via COVID, which is bugged out. But I'm thankful that like I said, my sister, brother, my mom, everybody, my son, and everybody's cool. So far, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, we're okay. Again, I do know people. Unfortunately, I have students that have lost their parents through this.
Gosh,
which obviously also brings it down how serious it is. And as I've said, your number today, this is chat number 56.
Oh,
okay.
Man,
and
56.
I can't believe that I started them 16 weeks ago and thought I'll be doing them for about 3 or 4 weeks to try and bring a little bit of happiness and entertain the drum industry and the community. Never ever thought that we'd still be doing them this long down the road. And we've all said, we know how serious this is around the world. It is a serious thing. And we as artists have also got to find ways to adapt, which is very, very hard because we're being affected. And that sort of brings me round to, I know we've got you for a short period of time today.
No, we can do the full round. It's cool.
Woo! You're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Right. Okay. So
time is money though.
Okay. So Femi, do you know
time is money though?
Do you know Femi that's just come in?
Oh yeah, Femi. That's my man. What up, Femi?
Yeah.
That's my man. Yeah, shout out to my brother Femi. He actually worked with one of my bandmates, a rapper named Pharaoh Munch, a legendary New York artist, rapper. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Femi may have backed him up in the UK. But that's a dope brother right there. He's got some skills.
Well, so you've one of the reasons I was talking about us having to adapt and create is that's something that you've always done. You've been, I know that you started very young, and I want to go back to the beginning because you obviously had musical parents, but you have created something very unique. From the kit setup, when I put questions out there, you can imagine everyone came to me and started asking me, you've got to ask him about the drum kit, you've got to ask him who's done this, but your way of playing, the record company, the producing, everything about you is new, and you're constantly thinking about being creative. So right now at this stage with what's going on, has that made you have to rethink about things again?
Not really, because I was already in hustle mode before this. But only thing that I had to restructure was this actually kind of been a blessing as far as like being able to focus and focus on stuff that I neglected. Because as you know, as musicians, a lot of times we're giving ourselves to other people because we are contractors. You know what I'm saying? If you're I was used to touring and kind of moving around because that's how a lot of us pay our bills. You know what I'm saying? And touring is, that's pretty much, you know, a lot of musicians. But anyway, you know, it's allowed me time to focus on stuff that I neglected. So mental health stuff that I, you know, neglected, which is very important. You know, just projects and things that I didn't really have time for, because I'm the type of person where if I'm involving myself in anything, I'm giving it 110%. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if I'm out working with this particular artist or whatever I'm doing at the time, my attention is, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not really a good multitasker, but I'm better when I'm focused. You know, I just like to really, really, really zone in on one thing. So basically, it just allowed me to focus on just my personal health. Just getting back to, you know, self-love. You know, just the basics, and going within, because, you know, right now, as you see, we're dealing with, you know, this race, you know, the racial vibes. Just going within and just, I mean, I'm you know, I've always been open, because of, I have to go in various communities, you know what I'm saying, that's not always a Black community. And I've always show love to, you know, all, you know, colors, you know what I'm saying. But as you know, that what we're dealing with right now, you know, the Black Lives Matters is definitely a different situation. But just saying that, just taking this time to go within and making sure that, you know, when I go out and when I see my brother, just be an example of showing them how to treat one another, because it's just the basics. If you don't love yourself, you know, you want to treat others like you treat yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Brilliant. Yeah.
So I want to definitely be an advocate and be that example, as well as continue to advocate in my own way, because we have social media, we have all these platforms, and everybody can't be on the front line. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody don't know how to behave in certain positions. That's why you have people rioting, or they doing certain things. There's a certain way that, you know, I just think things can be done decency and order. And I do understand, you know, some people riot or whatever they're going to do. But personally, for myself, I want to use my social platforms and my talents to be an advocate, to showcase, you know, working together, you know what I'm saying, and with everybody, you know, and also addressing the issues and just making awareness, like, yo, you know, think about it. Is this really fair? Like, a lot of times people, they don't put themselves in your shoes, because I think if people really put themselves in other people's shoes, they will behave differently. You know what I'm saying? So it's allowed me to do that, which I've already done, and also just, you know, I have a lot of projects, you know, that I'm involved with. The part that's made it difficult is doing these mixing sessions over the internet, because I'm like in the middle of like these projects, you know, like one of the projects that I'm involved with is with Pete Rock. Are you familiar with Pete Rock?
Yeah.
He's a legendary 90s producer. He had a group called Pete Rock and Seal Smooth. Like, he's one of the architects of the producer hip hop community. And I'm thankful I'm a part of his live band called the Soul Brothers. We've been together for 2 years. I'm the music director. But anyway, Pete's been doing these installments called Pete's.mentals, and he's put out 2 volumes, and we got the 3rd volume, which he have the live band go back and replay the live samples live. So it's like myself, Mono Neon on the bass, Marcus Machado, Jermaine Holmes, and Big Yuki. So the challenging thing was, we did half of the stuff in person, and then the mixing, right till when it got to the end, because of the COVID, we had to do it through the phone and sending it back and forth. So it's just like, dang, I think of course it would have went a lot faster if I was there in person, you know what I'm saying? But just figuring out ways to still move forward, but use the technology, which I'm thankful that we had the technology to do that. You know, we can send tracks via email. You know, we're not stopped where it may have been a different story 15 years ago. So I've been able to keep it moving. And I didn't mean a good long-winded, but
No, listen, and there's so much there that we're going to discuss today. And I want to go back to the beginning. You've just said something that is so important, and that's self-help and mental health. You know, because I think that, you know, so many people don't realize, but, you know, whether it's a male thing, whether it's a musician's thing, you know, we have to feel like we have to show that we're confident all the time, etc., etc. But we all know we've got friends of ours in the music business that have struggled over the years, and sometimes, I don't know, maybe we think it's a bit of a weakness, but now I think finally we are starting to try and find help and talk about it.
Yeah, because and I don't want to really go too far in this. I also want to shout out everybody that's tuned in. I'm seeing some fam, Hendrix. Miss Hendrix is in the building, but we want to thank you guys. And sorry for the delay. You know what I'm saying? We got the little musicians, you know what I'm saying? a little musician time. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. But yeah, I like, and I know this might go another way, but I just remember coming up as a kid and being in a car with my parents and being pulled over by the cops. Just the fear that we had, that's a trauma that stuck with me for years, even now to this day. When and I'm, I think I'm pretty clean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just that trauma and just that's just one of the traumas, you know what I'm saying? Just being, black, that I deal with right now. Just when I see the cops, it's just, you don't know like what's about to happen. And it's unfortunate. So, that's one of the traumas, and that can affect your mental health. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're the type of person where you're a ticking bomb, if you have a temper, you know what I'm saying? If you're going back and forth with somebody somebody in that position, you may not make it home. You know what I'm saying? But just that, and then just in the music industry is no joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, recording for artists, you know what I'm saying? And not getting the crediting that you deserve, or the publishing, all of that. It's mental. People promising you, you know what I'm saying? They when you do the session, you know what I'm saying? They say, "Oh yeah, we got you," but then when the album about to come out, they change. They get amnesia. That's mental. That's damaging to us, because it's like, as a drummer, we put our hearts, sweat, and soul. So of course, we're all paying our dues, and you get to a certain level where you become a businessman, which I've done. I'm thankful. I'm still paying my dues, but I just got to a point where I know my worth, and I'm a songwriter. You know what I'm saying? So I'm coming in as a producer, and sometimes people, they promise you things, and then when the record come out, your name is not on the, so now you got to start having all these legal stuff. You got to have this stuff in writing before you even finish. And that's mentally draining. And you keep getting hit like that. It makes you become bitter. You know what I'm saying? And I so I didn't really want to go on a tangent, but you hopefully you get the gist of what I'm saying.
No, and it's important. I mean, I've spent time with you. I know you. You're a very laid back. You're a very calm person. Okay. And I mean, to be honest with you, the racial issues that I have heard recently, it just blows my mind. I mean, it just blows my mind. It does. I mean, to me, I don't understand it, and I'd like to think, and I'm not saying that there isn't, but I'd like to think in our business, in the entertainment business, in the arts, that it doesn't really, it's not existing. I think it's ignorant, stupid people that have this racial issue, and I guess maybe that is why I can't get my head around it. I mean, I just can't get my head around it.
Yeah, it's even crazy. Just to expound a little bit, because I know this is going to open up a can of worms, but basically, like, even with like being in the position that I am in, right? So sometimes we get session work, and sometimes by major label artists, we come in, and then you start working the business stuff out, and then if you bumping heads, they will get somebody to come in and replay your rhythms. You know what I'm saying? Just so they won't have to give you, and that's some race, that's some stuff that we're dealing with too. We don't. I know a lot of us as Black, we don't always get the same opportunities that everybody else. But you gotta really work hard, and it's just a different day. I know you're not like that, and I'm just saying, like, that's only a small, but people don't understand, and that's why us as musicians, we try to preserve what we have, because people, they just swagger jack, they take it, but then they get the opportunities. We're not getting those same opportunities. But then the other people, they don't, they're taking and doing the same thing, but they're getting opportunities. So just like, dang, like, it just needs to be even up. That's all we want. That's it.
That's all we want. Like you said it. Treat others how you would want to be treated. It's as simple as that. Everyone there's good and bad in all races, all colours, all that's the end of it. It's a simple thing. Okay, now, so you 2 years old. Okay, 2 years old. For those, I'm sure a lot of people know already, but you obviously, you were 2 years old. You came through the church, but you 4.
Yeah.
4 years old. Look. Right, but I'm not giving you as much credit now. Then that's you know, you had an extra 2 years. I thought, you know,
2 years. Woo, I wish 2 years out the womb, get it in. Woo. You know what I'm saying?
So your parents were both musicians, okay? So
Yes,
what was it like back then? Was it just expected you were going to jump on an instrument and start playing? I mean, I know you obviously can't remember, but I mean, what have you been told?
that's a good question. So when I came up, I had the unfortunate, growing up in a musical family. Like my mom and dad, they both played. They're both musicians. And I know I tell this story so many times, but maybe some people that don't hear that don't know. So my dad was my mom's organ teacher. That's how they met. So makes sense. You know, see a hot lady, you want to teach her lessons, then you want to get with her. So, my mom was hot, whatever. But that's how that happened. So basically, just growing up in that environment, like my mom, she's a missionary now, but I started in church. My dad was an MD, which is a music director, and that was his role. So coming up at that time, I grew up in the church. I grew up Pentecostal. I don't know if you're familiar with like the different denominations.
Churches,
so you're Pentecostal Baptist. So I grew up strict Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ. Everything outside of gospel was secular. We were told we couldn't listen to. You know what I'm saying? So, at that time, it was just listening to Rance Allen, which is a famous gospel group. Actually, my dad was one of Rand's best friends, and he played with the Rance. He used to for Chris Bird when he couldn't make the gigs. And I also got to work with Rance, too, as a kid, because Rance would come through these revivals, and I got to work. But anyway, to make the long story short, it was all about the Wine-Ins. This is another gospel group, legendary gospel group from Detroit, Michigan. Clark Sisters. That was what I grew up on, all of that. And then later on, I had some older mentors because I was always a young dude hanging around older people. And they, we all kind of snuck. But some of my older mentors, they were into jazz, and then they would eventually put me on to I remember one of my mentors that I played with, we had a gospel jazz trio. He had the Tony Williams Live in New York. I remember him giving me that VHS tape. For the youngins that don't know, VCR tapes.
Brilliant.
Yo, that was heat. You know what I'm saying? That cracked my head. And then the Buddy Rich Memorial Series with Vinny Colaiuta, Dave Weckl, got exposed to that. At the same time, my mom had put me in chart reading lessons as a young teen because she wanted me to advance and learn how to read, read on paper. Yeah. So I remember going there, and then at the end of the lessons, I would see these magazines. When you cash out, you see all of the accessories. You're like, dang, as a kid, you're like, yo, what's that? So I seen the Modern Drummer magazine, which, I would begin to learn that they were profiling some of my heroes like Vinny. And then you would see them, the drums with their setup, which were their identity. So that was something that was implanted in my head. And just watching all of those instructional videotapes, I noticed that every drummer had their own different setups. You know what I'm saying? Although when you watch the Buddy Rich Memorial series, like with Vinny, Steve Gadd, and Dave Weckl, they were all playing Yamaha kit, but Vinny had the black oil heads. They all, so they all found a way to, it was similar setup, but it was still different. Yeah. Vinny had the turn out to the left. So, so that stuff was implanted in my head. So I was like, dang, I'm thankful that I came up during that time. You know what I'm saying? Seeing the Dennis Chambers and everybody with their identity. So I knew eventually at some point I want to do that. But at being a kid, you do what kids do. They find a hero and they want to start dressing like them. Like they want to be like Superman. So they start, So in the drumming community, I wanted to, get the same sticks they were using, set up my drums just like them. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually, am I going too far on this question? You can always stop me.
No, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. People are chiming in. They're asking questions too. Is Daru still a part of it? We'll talk about that. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. So just a continuation, setting up my drums like my heroes, of course, boom, 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 and then I remember one skill set that people recognized in me. They was like, yo, Daru has a good memory. If he heard something, he could play it. And I developed that reputation. I don't know if it was a gift, but I could hear something one time and play it. But at that time, it was the gospel drummers, which they didn't play a lot of notes. You know what I'm saying? Okay. It was like Dana Davis from Detroit, Michigan. Yeah. One of my favorite drummers is he played with the Wine-Ins and a lot of heavy hitters, but he had a pocket.
Yeah, and he just played, just
He
time.
just played, and then at that.
Oh, hang on, we've just lost you. I think.
Okay.
You're back. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, at that time in the gospel, it wasn't gospel chops. It was just all about playing. I'm back. Yo.
Yo, hang on. I think we're back.
Okay, cool.
You're back. Sorry, everyone.
It's all good.
Joys of technology. This is because
you know
Nashville.
That always happened because I'm we're talking about some issues and then looking the you know what I'm saying. Always happen. All good. We're gonna keep it moving. But yo, I want to say if anything happens, if you got to log out, save the video.
Yeah.
You know how when you get to the end, just save it and then we just log back in.
Yeah.
Thanks for being patient, y'all.
And this interview is going to be saved anyway, so it's going to go up anyway. So that's fine. Okay.
Killing.
Yeah. Carry on. Sorry. Carry on.
Oh, so yeah. So boom. I'm fascinated by all my new jazz drum heroes and this whole new world of drummers because of me coming up in church. I was, told just to stick with that.
You got to do. Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember where I left off.
So you were talking about various of the drummers that were playing.
Oh yeah. So at that time it was no gospel chops. It was all about playing his pocket, which Dana and another drummer named Michael Williams. He played for a group called Commission.
Yeah.
One of my favorite gospel groups. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Commission. I think they're still doing their thing. So I would go see them, and that's when I grew up north. I would go see them live, and also they still had showmanship, but it was still about laying it down. And then fast forward, I got exposed to the jazz drummers, and I want to get everybody that was out at the time: Peter Erskine, D. Jeanette, everybody that was out. I just went and got everything, and I just was shedding that. So then when I joined this gospel jazz trio, that's when I had the opportunity to play those fusion chops in that setting, right? So as drummers, we all evolve. Well, some people, it depends on what you want to do, because some people, they want to just be consistent and have their thing, and just do that. But for me, by being inspired like cats like Steve Gadd, you know what I'm saying? He's a genre-bending drummer. You place him in various situations, and he doesn't overplay. He gets the job done. He adds his swag, and he makes you feel good. So that's one of the drummers that inspired me, along with like Omar Akeem, just being able to genre bend. And that was cool. So for me, as drummers, we evolved. So I evolved from gospel to jazz, and then I played that for a while. But at the same time, I was also influenced by hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Going to school, all my friends, they all, hip hop was like the big thing at the time. So I started zoning in on the producers, because a lot of times the rappers, what they would be talking about, they were using a lot of profanity and stuff that I couldn't play in front of my mom and my parents. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, exactly. You're grounded, you know what I'm saying? but I found the beauty in hip hop as far as the production, because I'm a drummer. That's what I gravitated to, that beat. And at that time in the 90s, a lot of the hip hop producers, they were sampling, like James Brown, like the Stubblefield Breaks, in that vibe of music. So that resonated with me, because I can recognize, those patterns. Like, that's like a real drummer. So I just gravitated towards the producer, and I just tuned out the lyrics until some of my favorite groups came out. Then I obviously learned it because I was just hearing it. But and then I started. I remember my mom wanted me to learn how to play organ, because she wanted me to sub for her. She was like, "Son, you're going to sub for me one day." She put me in organ lessons, and one day my organ teacher brought in a drum machine, and I'm like, "Yo, what is that?" We were using the drum machine to keep time while we were working on scales.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yo, a machine playing drums?" You know what I'm saying? My little version, eyes and head. I was like, that cracked my head at the time, and I was like, "Yo," I begged my mom to buy me a drum machine. She got me a drum machine, and I started mimicking some of people that I admired at the time, like Teddy Riley. It was like this New Jack swing that was really popping, where you had guys, they were using drum loops, but they were stacking additional programming on top.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like 3 or 4 drummers on top of one track. You know what I'm saying? And that was like a vibe, and everything was fast tempo. You can really dance. It was like really, really up, not house, but just faster tempos than where they are today with all the trap and the vibes. But that was fascinating. I started, making patterns like the heroes, and then eventually one of my mentors that had a studio, and they was like, "Yo, here's a sampler, S900 Akai sampler." You know what I'm saying? And that cracked my head, because then I started finding out that's what they were doing to make these loops. And then I started producing, at a very young age, and I would make cassette beat tapes, which I still have.
How old was you at this stage?
14.
14. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
14. I joined my first jazz trio at 14. We were performing for stage plays where they would have people acting on stage, but they would have the band in the pit. So you couldn't see the band at all until the end. They brought everybody up, to take a bow or whatnot.
Yeah.
So so I started learning how to produce. And then I started emulating the producers that I liked at the time, which was RZA from Wu-Tang Clan, DJ Premier from Gangstar, Pete Rock, the Bomb Squad, Dr. Dre. And then eventually I would find out about Jay Dilla. That was later on. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, everybody at the time I started making beats like that. So a lot of my old beat tapes sounds like my influences.
Wow. So when you were doing that, first of all, you at the stage, I think you were in Michigan, weren't you, at the beginning? Is that where you're from originally?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
so you were still in Michigan at the time doing that.
Yeah.
And when you were playing in the church, or if you were still playing the church, did you still have to be strict with what was going on in the church, or could you
because you know what happened? I became a born-again Christian. I got saved at the time. And when you get saved, you give your life to God and you live this straight and narrow Christian walk where you just kind of live a clean, you know what I'm saying? So it was tough because I was like, yo, I still found a love for these other musics.
Yes.
And it was called the devil's music, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was just like, yo, what am I gonna do? Because I always felt like my gift was bigger than the church. You know what I'm saying? I felt like what I was gonna do was gonna be big. So I went against the grain, you know what I'm saying? People didn't understand I was a weirdo dude, you know what I'm saying? Had the backpack on, you know what I'm saying? Tim's, and I just East Coast out, you know what I'm saying? Just, watching all of the videos and whatnot. And then eventually later, that was a transition. But it was tough because I was like, I had to, and coming up Pentecostal, I mean, it's hard body. Like we couldn't have beards, you know what I'm saying? We had to have it was full in.
Yeah.
Bishop Mason style. I don't even know if anybody's familiar with the Church of God in Christ, but the ladies have to wear the skirts all the way down to their knees. It was these rules, you know what I'm saying? You had to look clean. But what I liked about it, they basically wanted you to look your best.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me, you know what I'm saying? Because like my dad and a lot of my uncles and cousins, they're pastors and reverends, you know what I'm saying? And they just wanted you to look your best. So that's where that terminology came from, Sunday's best. Because when you went to
hang on. No, come on. Stay in there. You're back.
I still see you.
Yeah.
So it's all about looking your best. And that's where the terminology Sunday's best came from.
Yeah.
Because everybody 100%. And you know what? If you came to church and you weren't swagged out, you would get talked about.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I didn't like about it, because it kind of, some people were kind of, they would kind of judge you. And which some of the musicians that came out of church, they still had that mentality, which is, you can't, really look down on the person just because they may have a Chevette and you may have a Caddy, you know what I'm saying? Just because they don't have the same.
Or you're listening to a particular music when they should be listening to, that's it. That's right.
Yo, back in the days when I came up, if you didn't have a pearl piccolo snare drum, you would get left. You came up in there with a lugwit. You had to have a pearl piccolo, a free floating.
Yes,
I
remember it.
Yo, if you didn't have that, because basically they would have these things called midnight musicals, concert, but they called them midnight musicals. Dang, I'm losing you. I was just talking about at the time, they had these midnight musicals, which were concerts that would go from like 9, it ended at midnight. Okay. And they were like our concerts in church. You still there?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that was true. So basically when you would go to the midnight musicals, it was like a concert. Like when you go to a concert and they have a big roster, like 10 people performing. That's how it was. And the funny thing was, each choir or group that got up, the drummer always was changing the snare and the pedals in between, you know what I'm saying? So the choir, everybody be waiting on the drummer to get their stuff together. And so when the drummers come in, they had their cases. And if they come up in there and they got any other thing outside of a pearl, free floating, piccolo, or DW, you were getting laughed at. the musicians in church were bad at, worse than the bullies in school.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So that really helped me though, because it was like, and that's another thing too that I learned in playing in church. Just like it's this movie called Whiplash, and the guy was like, "Yo, are you dragging?" That was in church, because if you was playing in church and you was, if you was dragging the beat, you was getting slid off the seat. They had drummers just waiting for you to mess up. That only had to happen to me 1 or 2 times, and I was like, I do not want to be in that number. So when you see the vocalist is doing that, picking up, that's not a good look. But anyway, I'll say this: I don't regret my upbringing. I'm thankful that I had that. It's definitely been great for me and a part of my life. I take the good, you know what I'm saying, and all the other judgmental stuff. I don't, I keep it moving. But yeah, I didn't mean to go too long on that.
That was brilliant. And now I'm gonna jump forward a little bit. I have two questions but I want to talk about Jack White. Okay. You, first of all, how you got involved in that. But before we get to that, you've been, or projects you've worked with, Gloria Gaynor and Jack White, are Grammy Award winning projects. Okay, yes, so cut to the chase. Have you got a Grammy?
Yeah, well, those certificates,
they didn't give you the actual.
We got the certificates because it's so many, so many moving parts. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thankful. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. I mean, it's thank you so much. I'm grateful. You know what I'm saying? I'm so grateful. I'm thankful for the projects that I got coming out. You know, I don't know if we're gonna have a segment. I know we're under a time constraint. I don't know how much time we got left.
I think we're all right because it keeps stopping, so it might start again. I don't know.
Yeah. And now on my end, you know what? I'm gonna turn my Wi-Fi back on, so it's gonna pause me for a second. I think it's something on my end, but whatever.
Listen, I just said out of 56 chats, I've been quite lucky. 56 Only about 4 or 5 of them have we've had problems with. So so you got your Grammy certificate.
Yes.
On those projects. So
right behind you.
Very nice. Very nice.
And the gold plaque too for the Blunderbuss record.
Yeah. So Jack White and Gloria Gaynor were the 2 artists. So first, let's talk about Jack White. How did that come about? You're working with Jack.
Yeah. So Jack White came about, and that was a continuation of my story that I didn't finish. From the production, I started becoming a hip hop drummer. Yeah. But I met Jack White through working with one of the hip hop artists, as y'all know or may not know. Mid 2000s, I became the hip hop guy outside of Amir Questlove. Shout out to brother Questlove, for what you've done to the community. During that time, I was working with a group called Slum Village, which is Jay Dilla's. That's the group that he was in. You know what I'm saying? And he had just passed away in 2006. Yeah. And at the end of the year, Slum Village, they wanted to turn a new chapter, you know what I'm saying, and add a live band to the equation. And I got the recommendation. To make a long story short, working with Slum Village, I was touring. We played the Essence Festival. We did a few things, did several things, and then the artist that we had open up for us was another Detroit artist named Black Milk, from Detroit, Michigan, and he's a producer as well. And basically, Black Milk was so fascinated with Slum's band. He was like, "Yo, if I ever start a band, I want to use you guys." So he did. So we pretty much got snagged from Black, brought in Slum Village band, and then I started recording with him, which I'm on the album project called Album of the Year, came out in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. 2010, and then the same year, Jack, I think he had just started doing these Blue Series at Third Man Records, which is his label. Yeah, he was doing these collaborations where he would do an A and B side, you know what I'm saying, and produce it. And anyway, the story that I heard was Jack got excited because he heard one of the tracks from Black Milk's project that I was on, and it was not the track that I played on, but it was called Deadly Medley. It had a rock guitar sample, and he contacted Black Milk's manager, Hex Murder. That was his manager at the time. Yeah, shout out to Hex Murder, you know what I'm saying, from the D. Y'all know who Hex is, you know what I'm saying. And I never forget when Black got the opportunity. It's funny, Black told us that Jack offered to use his own national musicians.
Oh, wow.
But Black Milk was like, "Nah, I got my own guys that I tour with." So big thanks to Black Milk for not for bringing us down because he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
He brought us down. We went to Jack's home studio and recorded. And the following day we had a performance at Third Man Records, which is the venue, the label where they do all of the vinyl pressing and everything. I never forget we do this performance and I knew Jack was a drummer, but I had a drum solo in the performance, a song called Losing Out. And never forget after that song, Jack I think he was in the back of the room, but then you just heard somebody say, yeah. And that was him, you know what I'm saying? So I think I did something cool. I went back to New York, and then a couple months later, his team reached out to me and said Jack is doing a collaboration with RZA from the Wu-Tang, the legendary Wu-Tang Clan. One of my favorite producers of all time, you know what I'm saying? You know, Wu-Tang, they're known for RZA was known for chopping up Japanese movies, you know what I'm saying? And that became a thing. So I was like, dang. Jack was doing a collaboration with RZA, and he sent for me. He was like, can you come down? I got all the way. They flew me out to Nashville from New York, and when I got to the studio, right before the session, Jack got a call or whatever, and RZA canceled the session. So it was crazy. We was like, yo, like, how could this happen? I was heartbroken, and Jack felt bad. At the time, RZA was shooting a lot of movies. You know, he was involved in Kill Bill and some other movies, I think at the time, that he was doing. And he couldn't make it. And I was like, dang, crumbled. But Jack was like, he didn't want to send me back to New York. So he was like, man, I got a couple of solo songs I was working. Maybe we could try those out. And I basically tracked with Jack for 2 days. We cut like 4 tracks. The rest of 2011 goes by. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, man, what happened to those tracks? I'm wondering whatever happened to that music. And then right before 2012, and at this time, I was booked 6 months to a year in advance. My schedule was busy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was Talib Kweli, the Brooklyn rapper.
Yeah.
One of the best MCs. I was his music director. He was one of the gigs I was playing. I was with Black Milk, Ski Beats and the Senseis, and I was playing with Daisy Joplin. She played violin. So I was my schedule was between 4 of those. That was paying my bills at the time. So I was, moving stuff around, and I never forget. In January, 3 of those artists had tour. Well, 2 of the artists that I worked with had tours that they were checking for my availability, and they were all at the same time. Mm-hmm. I got an email from Jack's team that Jack was inquiring about my availability for like 6 months to a year. I'm like, yo, what is this all about? And I was like, well, I don't really know. I'm trying to figure out. I got a couple of work situations that I'm trying to decide which one is going to work for me. And then I was like, well, what's going on? And then Jack emailed me personally. He emailed me personally like, yo, those tracks that you played on are going to be for my solo album, Blunderbuss. And I was told that basically started his solo career. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it turned out to be a blessing. The RZA cancellation turned out to be a blessing. So Jack was like, I had this idea. I want to tour with two bands, an all-female band and all-guy band, which everybody that was involved in the project, all of the male band wasn't involved, but it was pretty much the females played on it, and I played on a couple of tracks.
Yeah.
One of the tracks was a B-side from one of the singles, and then one was Trash and Talk. But anyway, he was like, I had this idea to tune with 2 bands. Can you come in and be a part of the male band? And to make a long story short, out of narrowing down those other situations, I ended up doing Jack, which I almost didn't do, which is another story because I'm loyal. But anyway, it worked out, and that's how the Jack White thing came about.
Okay, so I saw you with that gig. I met you with that gig. You won't remember, and I think I met you at Brixton Academy. I think it might be the O2. I can't remember where, but we met. Someone else introduced me to you, and I came. And I remember also, if I remember rightly, we didn't know which band was going to play. We didn't know if it was going to be the male band or the female band. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what they were doing at the time. So it was crazy. We had this positive problem. The positive thing is we were getting paid regardless.
Yeah,
thank goodness. But the one of the negative thing is sometimes we will play a venue where we were not always playing the same venue for 2 nights. So that means one of the bands could do the gig. And we will find out the day in the morning. We would get a text or email. And sometimes we didn't get that until later on in the day. And then we find out, okay, it's the girls tonight or the guys tonight, which is bugged out. Because sometimes, I remember the first time we did Red Rocks, but the girls got to play it we were sick. We were salty about that. It's like, yo, I wanted to play.
I want to
Rare
play
Rocks.
it.
But on the next tour when we played Rare Rocks, I got a chance to play it. But yeah, that was a situation.
So,
That
I
was a
mean, it's
situation.
almost like the famous James Brown story where they used to send, I don't know if you've heard this story, but they used to send a message round to the changing rooms and said, Mr. Brown has said we're wearing red tonight, and the red suits came out, or Mr. Brown said we're wearing black tonight, or whatever. And they literally knew like 2 hours before which outfits to wear, except in this case, you're changing band. I mean, it's, I mean, what do you think, what made Jack's decision to have it go with one band or the other? Was there any reason?
That's just him. He's a mad scientist. He's a mad scientist. But it was cool. Like I said, I mean, I'm glad we still got paid regardless. So that was a blessing. But it just only thing was it definitely had it was definitely tension because everybody wanted to be the best. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the thing was we all had to learn the same catalog of music. He gave us a catalog from the White Stripes, the Dead Weather, everything that he's played on. But the girls transcribed their songs differently from the male band. Yeah. I think we were a little bit more aggressive, and some of the arrangements were different. But then when people would do the reviews, they were like, thank God that Jack had the male band because they went, you know, it became this competition. It was crazy. It got weird. It got weird because everybody want to be on the A game and but you know,
I saw you when I came, and I have to be honest, I'd heard a lot about you before this. We'd never met. I'd heard stories about you. I'd heard stuff about you. A few of my drumming buddies had talked about you. And I saw you play. Like I said, I can't remember whether you played London 02.
Or we played London 02.
It was, right. Okay, well, that's where we met. And we met at the back afterwards. But it was you. And it's terrible because you turn up and go, well, I don't know what I'm going to say tonight. Because no disrespect to Jack. I love Jack. I think Jack White's, you know, an amazing person, but I didn't go to see Jack White. I went to see the band.
Wow.
So going back to that, very interesting point you made there. You got 4 gigs going on, okay? Jack White comes along. As you've just said, every musician hopes that they get this, but it's also the hardest thing for us to decide, what am I going to do? So what made your decision I know that obviously at the time it was a great project, but what made you choose Jack over the other projects?
Oh my God, I may get in trouble for this. This lives later, and all of the other, you know, I've actually got to tour with Black Milk again for the album I played on with Fever. So I'm glad I was able to get that back going because that bothered me. But anyway, you know, as musicians, we don't always know these politics. You know what I'm saying? We just think every opportunity is amazing, and we don't really. But so basically, dang, should I keep it 100 on this? So
you don't have to.
Okay,
don't have to. You don't have to say anything. This track's going to stay up there. So don't worry.
Just kind of.
Yeah, you're going to decline.
Yeah, because when it's going to net, you know what I'm saying? People are always chopping and screwing it around. But yeah, I'll just say this. I'll just say this. So when I was Talib Kweli's music director, I got paid more money, right? So obviously I'm going to choose that gig. Yeah. But I'm a loyal person. I'm a Leo. It's like that's our trademark. So although was a part of Black Milk's band, and they were all acquiring my availability, Talib Kweli tour was longer. He had a record called Gutter Rainbows, and we had already had all of the I like being on tours where they have the months, everything already in place, because that means you ain't got to really worry. Yeah. So I was kind of narrowing it down, you know, and also putting the figures in the numbers, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so the thing about Black Milk Tour, I think he was doing like a 30-day run, and I think this was the first time they were going to be doing this, where we were going to drive. So that tour was going to be hard body, but when it came down to it, there's some things that I didn't really agree with, and that made me change my mind. But I had already knew about the Jack White thing, and I was about to cancel it because I didn't want to I'm loyal, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And my
yeah.
girlfriend at the time in New York, she was like, yo, do you know who Jack, you know, she was like, what are you doing?
And
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
But when you're loyal, you know, you make those decisions because it's
yeah.
not all about the money. It's relationships. I want to say this. Relationships are everything, drummers.
You know what? Every chat I've done,
Everything.
everybody has said the same thing about it. That's the lesson for everyone. It's about
Yo,
relationships.
you don't want to burn no bridges because if you got to go back, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean, if it's a job you don't want and then you just walk off of it, you know, but what happens if you can't find a gig and you need to humble yourself and go back?
Mm.
It depends on how you left, if you're going to be able to come back. So when I made the decisions and then the people, whoever I was working with, when they find out, because they basically found out when they saw me on TV on Saturday Night Live, that's when they hit the fan.
Right.
Oh, that's why Daru couldn't do, but then when I decided that I wasn't going to do the Black Myth tour, and then I hit Tyler Kweli up, and the people at the time, I was like, okay, I'm available. They canceled out a whole leg of the tour, and I was just like, dang. So he decided that he just was going to bring the DJ out. So that it's unfortunate when you work in certain communities because they don't have a protection plan. You know what I'm saying? If you're not under some type of stipend, or what do they call those?
Contract.
Not contract, but like I remember when Beyonce had the 2 female band.
Yeah.
And I think she had them on some type of payment plan.
Retainer.
Retainer. Like if in the hip hop community, there's not a lot of money to go around. So
I don't think the retainers aren't happening anymore, but it's like
So at the time, it's just like, yo, if you block out your time for a hip hop artist and they cancel, you messed up.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have no backup plan, so when Tyler Kweli decided to cancel that run out and use a DJ, I had already canceled out on Black, you know what I'm saying, and other stuff that I had. So it just made it easier to go with Jack at the end of the day, and it worked out. So
okay, so just a quick question on this one: was that moving from New York to Nashville, which is where you are now?
Yes,
Did you do that because of Jack? Was that the reason that you moved up to Nashville, or did that come later?
Yeah, that was one of the main reasons. Yeah, I remember being on a tour and one of my bandmates, his name is Ike Owens. He played the keys with Mars Volta. He actually passed away in 2014 while we were on tour. Rest in peace, Ike.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, he's from Long Beach, and I remember when we were touring together, Ike was like, because Ike, we would drive to rehearsal together because they would fly us, they would bring us to Nashville to rehearse. Like we rehearsed for like a month or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, Ike was like, man, we should move to Nashville and start a soul movement. You know what I'm saying? And holler at Jack and see if we could bring some vibe there. And that was our plan. So he made the move first. Came to Nashville, got set up and everything. And then everybody in the band was like, yeah, Nashville's coming around. They're gentrifying. They're building it up, which Nashville is now like a new Mecca.
No.
Everybody's moving. Yeah. It's crazy. Like Keith Carr, everybo's coming down. Stage and Arrows.
Carlock. Yeah. Everyone. Yeah.
Yes. So Nashville is becoming this hub. And I remember and the band members like, yeah, you should come to Nashville. It's something that you could bring a vibe to. And I was like, okay, cool. And then at the time I was going through some life transitions in New York. Everything was going high, and then just housing, transitioning. And then I had a close friend that was a part of the Third Man Records team, a good friend of mine. She was looking for somebody to take over her lease. She sent me some pictures. And then I came down. I was like, okay, cool. I think I'll try this Nashville thing out. And then at the time, I was going back and forth on a regular because I didn't want to let my people know in New York that I was in Nashville because I would lose my work back there. So it was a secret. It was a secret for a long time. I had to when I would get them calls from my buddy's very angry, one of my homies, he played with the Roots, and different people that was that would call me for work. I couldn't tell them that I had moved to Nashville. I had to be like, yo, I'm away from work. I'll let you know when I'm back in town. And that's been the secret. But then when I got here, I thought it was going to be a certain thing, and it was the opposite. I thought because of all of the politics that I had and everything that I've done in my career, I was going to come down. It was going to be smooth sailing, but it was not.
No.
I had to start from the ground up, And I got love from certain ones here, like Rich Redman, you know what I'm saying, good friend of mine.
Okay.
You know, Kayo and Sandy had moved on. Some of the Nashville community, because Nashville got a drum community is thick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They do it's a whole thing, but I still them guys, the old heads, they've been here. So they're like, yo, you ain't coming down here bringing no New York swag. They thinking I'm coming down here to try to take their gig. Because, you know, when you come in town, you become hot, you know what I'm saying? And people are like, oh, dang, Daru here. You know what I'm saying? Not toot my horn, nothing like that, but I'm just saying, when you make a reputation for yourself and you like new blood coming to town, and then people start checking out your resume, people get fearful, and it's like, yo, I didn't come here to try to take nobody. I just want to add to the scene.
Yeah.
But it was hard for me to get in certain, you know, I would go to these jam sessions and go places, and I didn't get called up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not because I couldn't play.
No, it's
like,
what it is. Yeah.
It is what it is. And I'm thankful that, you know, I didn't get discouraged. I was like, well, what can I bring to this community that will be my own? So I brought the whole drumming live with the DJ.
Yeah.
That's something that hasn't happened that I know of in Nashville. And that was my lane that I started. I've been here for like 5 years, and 2 events that I brought it here for is an event called the Funky Good Time, which they play all James Brown style music, and I would live drum. I was already doing this in New York and other places, so I brought that. That's something that I brought to Nashville, and then I do see the drummers out here kind of, you know, swagging, doing the deal. You know, it's all good, you know what I'm saying. But I'm like, okay, they ain't not always calling the kid for the work, but I'm thankful that I've gotten some really amazing opportunities here as well. You know, I got to work with Sturgill Simpson, and the Gloria Gaynor session was actually done in Nashville as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
And did you set up the record company in Nashville? Your record company in Nashville?
Nah,
or was that in New York?
my
That was
company,
back in the New. Yeah.
Yeah, I got my LLC in New York. I think I want to say 2013. But I've been branding Music Records for like since the MySpace days. I had that logo with the face. I've been branding because I'm a producer.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, I'm a producer. You know what I'm